At times in our training, we will have lessons that are slightly out of order due to the way that our training is set up as far as the virtual learning. So, looking at Unit 1, this is actually Lesson 7. In your independent time, you accomplished Lesson 8. So now you can really see why all these lessons are important as far as the scaffolding within the unit to accomplish each lesson. So let's look at lesson 7. From ratio tables, equations and double number lines, diagrams, to plots on the coordinate plane. We'll look at the big picture, the simplified scale, and the scope and sequence. On the big picture, you can see this is 2 days, and it's also right before that collection of formative assessments. So working through those formative assessments, one task of them and reading through them, you can see now why this lesson will be very important for those 2 days prior to students being able to accomplish that lesson 8. On the unit cover page or over page simplified scale, we can see these are the 3 bullets that they'll be accomplishing. At times, that students will have more than one particular learning target per lesson. This is one of them. So I can make tables of equivalent ratios relating with whole number measurements. I can find missing values in a ratio table, and I can plot the pairs of values in a ratio table on a coordinate plane. So let's look at the actual scope and sequence for this lesson. It's going to accomplish all of this as far as equivalent ratios, tape diagrams, double numbered lines, and equations. This lesson will be very important for day 1 for you to really spend some time on the equations and how equations relate to those tables, and they'll have multiple opportunities to practice that and understand. At times in the teacher note, it talks about common errors, and it talks about things that maybe you need to know for later on in math and higher concepts. This lesson is exposing students as far as the graphing, a ratio table. It enables students to understand the relevance of developing an equation and later aids them in understanding in higher math the slope of a line. So this is where that foundation you're laying for those students for their higher maths. A common error is that students at times will get the X and the Y coordinate in the wrong position. So those are things that are within your teacher notes, common mistakes, common errors to be aware of prior to teaching your students these concepts. Going on to the presentation strategies. The first day, the students will work through an Engage New York lesson. And the second day, this is where we'll be actually picking up with in our groups with a Desmos lesson. So let's go ahead and get started on that lesson.